All right, everybody, what's going on out there? Good to see you. Thanks for everybody that's going to pop up, I guess, here to look at my epic Watchmen collection, right? And the timing of this is just phenomenal. Reorganizing the room, redoing some boxes, getting supplies, bagging and stuff. And I realized I had enough Watchmen material here, if you will, to fill up a short box, okay? And then all sorts of other things. And this is Watchmen, the series, Watchmen related books, Watchmen movies, Watchmen's promotional material, miniseries, things that should never have been done, things that were done, and everything like that. And as I was going through, didn't realize how much I had accumulated, and I'm like, since I have it all out, um, let's let's search for a few other little bits and pieces here and just make a video, right? Now, and the timing is also phenomenally unreal because I was going to shoot this last night, but it was so late and I had to work the next day after getting everything organized and put up that I was like, I'll just do it tomorrow night, which is tonight. So today is October, make sure, 18th, 2022, and at 1:10 p.m., 1 o'clock, 10 after 1 p.m., my phone gave me an alert of some news. Apparently, my phone listens to me like it always does, and apparently there was a piece of news that came out. So apparently, as of right now, if you're watching this in the future, it's now, okay? But Jeff Johns apparently has returned to DC Comics, and this pertains to Watchmen news. And he's bringing back the Justice Society, bringing back Stargirl. And apparently, he's had a mini series going on called Flashpoint Beyond. And the big spoiler alert that came out in the comic book news, if you will, today is that he has returned to his Doomsday Clock series, which I'll show here. And he has brought out a new character. This character originally appeared in Doomsday Clock number 12. But in the Flashpoint Beyond, she has become Nostalgia. All right. And when I saw the pinup of her, I guess the debut of her, the splash page that they had with the news, I just had to laugh because she looks like an advertisement, if you will, for the nostalgia perfume that you find in the Watchmen. Okay. The smell of nostalgia and stuff. Right. So I don't know if I'll be getting that to be a completist. I think I try to stick to actual Watchmen characters and things. Right. Oh, we already got people up. What's going on? Nice. Thanks, guys. Okay, so basically we have movies, movie materials, comics, role-playing games, all sorts of stuff, right? So we're just going to kind of get through this, right? Now, normally I don't do this, so don't run off, but tonight I am accepting tips in the tip jar because this was a lot of work and I damaged a shelf getting all this stuff up. When I do haul videos and stuff, I have never really worried about that kind of thing. But if you want to super chat a question, that's cool. If you want to put something in $1 in a tip jar, that's cool. Because I'm probably going to end up having to replace the shelf, and I would love to get a new webcam, so it would go to the cause and everything. All right. So we're going to get started after I make sure this doesn't work. And I am good. All right. So the first thing I want to show, we'll start with the movies, right? I think the movie came out in 2009, and Watchmen has always been, I'll tell you how I got into Watchmen first and foremost, right? Well, I'm getting everything over here. But the Watchmen, it's one of two books that I actually get jealous of people over. Not the kind of jealousy where it's of the person, but it's of their opportunity. After years and years of being on YouTube and the channels that have come and gone and the people I've interacted with on here, in what has it been, like 11 years, 12 years? I think it's 12 years now. I'm always jealous of those people who never got to read The Watchmen, people who never got to read Dark Knight Returns. And I'm always jealous because, Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, I wish I could go back and read it for the first time and have that surreal feeling and a feeling that I've never, I can't explain before, of something new, an enlightening moment, if you will, of reading that. I wish I could go back and read it. Now, over the years, it kind of became one of two things with some people I ran across, right? The edgy thing to do was to say that they didn't get Watchmen. or to brag that they didn't watch it. They also were people that were bragging they'd never watched Star Wars and stuff. It was just this thing to do to get attention and stuff. And you had some people that did it. Then you had some people read Watchmen, and Watchmen is old enough now to where it's a period piece. Okay, I think when you read it, you're in 1985 reading it. Book came out in 86 and 87. So it's kind of like reading a period piece. Now I could watch period piece movies. I love watching movies from the 70s and the 50s and the 40s and the 30s and stuff. So I don't think there's a lot there. So my one opportunity to get this out of the way before we dive into all this stuff is, my thing is, if you don't like Watchmen, that's cool. That's fine. It's not about that. But I don't really get riled up unless you want to ignore the merits and the influences that it's had in the what it did for comics. It really brought a validation to comics. And when Alan Moore made Watchmen, he was expecting Watchmen to be obliterated by books that were going to be coming out in the future. He thought he had raised the standard with the Watchmen, that other writers, it would open a door for other writers to start doing more with books and stuff, right? Instead, it ended up taking away some of the innocence to comics at the same time, along with its own merits and stuff, right? So a lot of this stuff I've accumulated over the years, and some were gifts, some were yard sale finds. Here's the Watchmen Blu-ray with its funky little cover there. And within this collector's edition Blu-ray, you get another hardback trade of the Watchmen. And it has made one of Time Magazine's best 100 novels, if you will. And of course, I think the movie fell right out. So, and then when you open this, you have a collector's edition of Watchmen on Blu-ray. I have another one here somewhere. I don't even know if I pulled it out. So that was cool to find at a yard sale. And another hardback edition of the Watchmen that I've never really cracked open. So to go along with this, we have the cartoon that was not included in the theatrical presentation, Tales of the Black Freighter. Now, as you can tell, and as I'm talking, and I can tell, I'm just assuming you have read The Watchmen, okay? So I'm going to be talking like you know what these things are, right? But the cartoon blew everybody away. The cartoon was made because it would add a $2 million. I believe that's what Zack Snyder said in some commentaries I've listened to. It would have cost about $2 million more dollars to film The Black Freighter as a movie to insert into the Ultimate Collection that you ended up getting of Watchmen. So they just ended up animating it. And the people who worked on this, I've seen interviews with them that were like, they were surprised with how heavy this was, Tales of the Black Freighter. And when I went to the theater, two things happened. When the Watchmen movie came out, I had friends who absolutely knew I loved the Watchmen. And at the same time, my son his mother had moved him quite a ways away from me. So I got everything together over the course of a year or two, and I dropped everything, and I was going out there to see them. So my friends, as a goodbye for me, the way it lined up, so I had about 25 of my friends take me to see the midnight showing of the theatrical version of The Watchmen, and then they also got me a little book, this Absolute Edition that I'll show in a minute as a gift for me leaving because they know I didn't want to go. So I ended up getting this on sale, the ultimate cut of Watchmen, the complete story. And not only does it come with the movie and extras and the Black Freighter, but it also comes with the motion comic. So if you want the pure Watchmen experience, I would get the complete motion comic. It's free on YouTube, guys. Every chapter is free. They take each issue of the Watchmen comic, and they move and things happen. It's a nice little cartoon that they did with the comics. The only thing I wish they had done is they should have got more than one voice actor. One voice actor, a man, does all the voices, including Silk Spectre. And then we have the inside of this, we have the Ultimate Cut edition. And I'm sure if you go back, going way back on YouTube and putting this stuff in, people have done reviews of these, right? So you get all sorts of things in this, all sorts of little DVDs. And as you can see, I've kept everything that came inside of it. Oh, I got a digital code. I may try to put that in, believe it or not, even though this came out like in 2010, I believe. this Ultimate Cut DVD edition. I'm going to go ahead and try to put this code in because I have found movies as old as 2013 that the digital code still worked. So that was a cool thing to find. You were here first. I'll let you know if it happened. And of course, the case that it comes in is fantastic. It's got it's magnetized to keep it closed, which surprises me because digital media magnets are supposed to do it. And I believe that was probably one of the many movie posters or anything like that that came out. Theatrical version, I came out trying to be saying they had great parts that didn't do enough. When I saw the ultimate cut where you get tons more footage and material, this is the way to go. They put in the Black Freighter chapters in there. They brought in the two Bernards are in here and all sorts of expanded and new scenes and things that you just could not find. So it was fantastic. And as you can see, I actually kept the wraparound card that came in that you're supposed to throw away after you take the plastic off. I keep all this crap, man. I really do. So I keep that like this over here on the shelf. So there's that. Now they came out with promotional material, and I don't really track it down. I don't have any of the action figures. I don't go out and try to find everything. But if I run across it, it's on sale. There's been maybe 2 or 3 things I actually went out hunting for, and I ended up getting them stuff, right? But some of the promotional material that came out with cracked me up. Like these dog tags came out. You can see it's Rorschach and it's the clock. Dog tags like you wear in the military. But we got our Doomsday Clock, a little bit of blood, and Rorschach on a dog tag. Now, don't get me wrong. Who thinks of this? I don't know anybody who loves Watchmen enough that they're going to wear their dog tags and stuff, right? And then there's some pins. Now, in the 80s, they came out with a pin set. I don't know how well these are going to show up, but we have Night Owl, Dr. Manhattan, Rorschach, and the End is Nigh. And there was 2 sets, another Rorschach, a comedian, Silk Spectre, and Who Watches the Watchmen. So we have those unopened. Those are, like I said, movie material. And then this is what it cracked me up. It was a keychain. So you figure if they're going to do the keychain, it would have been the smiley face with the blood on it. But no, they went with a pure silver, silver color, if you will, die cast of the Doomsday Clock. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, right? So we have that. Other things that came out with the movie that I found on sale on 2010, a magnet set. Okay, I guess these were to put on your refrigerator or something, right? So this is the Comedian Night Owl set. Comes with We Fix 'Em, the original Night Owl's sign for his shop. The Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias set. And the Rorschach and Silk Spectre set. All of this, I guess, to put on there behind you. That's the letter that Moloch found in his refrigerator right before Rorschach jumped, Rorschach jumped him, from behind in his own kitchen. All right, let's check this out. We have quite a few people here. Oh, okay. Eric Breen is here. Shameless plug. I have Dixon with them on the Geeky Puppet Show tonight at 9. Nice. That's a channel. Nice. Okay. So dog tags, all that stuff and everything, right? So before we'll get to the comics, man, it gets better, right? So this Absolute Edition right here. I'm going to get down to the original trade and tell my story. It better be here. Yeah, there it is. So we also have the Absolute Edition. Tons of videos on people that got this and went through it. But the Absolute Edition, I want to say this was probably, $75. And the very night before I moved away, 4 or 5 of my friends got together and bought this for me. And they worked at, let me get rid of this. They actually worked at a store that was a video game store. So I moved in 2009. The store opened around 2004. And when I saw they had video games, they were actually sort of across the road from me. They're probably like half a mile from my house in a mall. I come out of a little suburb and right there was the mall. So when I went in, one of the things I helped the store out with is I helped them pick what comic books to order that would sell and stuff, right? So anyway, these guys became my friends. And like I said, 4 years later, they all got together and bought an absolute Watchmen edition. Bittersweet time, bittersweet time. So the movie is going full swing, and all this extra Watchmen stuff comes out after a lull in it. Some of the things I want to show you in the comic books, I got for $1 out of dollar bins, right? Late 90s into the mid 2000s. Watchmen were forgotten about. They were in dollar bins. I'd seen them in dollar bins forever. After a certain point, around 1999, I started really seeing them in dollar bins. So what I would do is I had my set, which I'll tell you the story about when I get there. And the guys that bought me the Absolute Edition, I would pick up issues of Watchmen for them, and then I would sell them to them according to the Wizard price guide. It was sort of funny. So this is a hardback, oddly shaped. I also have a Sin City one that's sort of shaped the same, but it's the art of the film. And I believe they have Dave Finch and all kinds of people in here. It's storyboards, artwork, props, all sorts of things that they made for the film. I highly recommend this book if you're A, into movies, and B, if you're into the Watchmen. So I'm not going to take the dust cover off. But no idea where I bought this or what I got in here. So if you're a completist, you'll get to see extra artwork and sceneries, new adaptations of Dave Gibbons' artwork. I think he may have some new artwork in here. And, these were just ways that they would look at what they have for the movie. Apparently, I never finished the book. I still have it. I still have a little bookmark in there. I guess I was in the middle of reading it. Good times. But like I said, even if you're not into comics and you're watching this and you just like the Watchmen movie and you were curious, all of this stuff is really great to get. That goes with the movie. This is the film companion of the Watchmen, and not quite sure what to say. One goes into the props and stuff, and I guess one just sort of gives you a close-up of props and anything that they used in the comic book with probably a little bit of explanation and stuff, right? And another bookmark. What do you know? See if we can find See, Dave Gibbons came in and did extra art and stuff, right? So here's all the masks that they had come up with for Rorschach. And what this was a guide for the computer to make his mask move, much like it does in the comic. So it's just another companion of what's in there. Nostalgia, the ads, all the details that you probably didn't see in the movie are here for you to study. That's the best way to put what that is. Okay. And so to add to my Watchmen memorabilia, I have a ton of these. Before Watchmen, when they came out, you got bookmarks that came out that comic book stores would put in your bag for free. And somewhere I have probably about 30 of these, or used to. So that was always good to find. I'll put that up to where I can find it. And now one of my favorite books, not just because it's Watchmen, but because I think I found this photographer on YouTube, but there was a photographer on set of the Watchmen set. And what he would do is that he would have a white sheet of paper hanging on a wall somewhere, and he would have each actor come up in costume and out of costume, and I think a few people who worked behind the scenes, and he would just take a close-up picture of them in black and white and made it into portraits. This is the actual picture of Jamie Earl Haley. And as you go through this, these are some of the actual photographs in the book. He gets a lot of character out of people and stuff like that. So I looked up to the photographer, Clay Enos, and at least he used to on YouTube, had a little mini documentary on him where he was on the street in a city and having a sheet of paper set up, and he would just ask strangers, people walking the street, if they'd like to have their picture taken. So that's what he does. But if you're into the costumes, the background characters, everything Watchmen, he got it all. He definitely got it all. Every character is in Watchmen is in this, I'm pretty sure, in costume. That is one I probably would like to just sort of get a close-up of the book and just turn the pages and probably do a voiceover video on one day, because it's just fantastic seeing the character in people's faces. Okay. Now, this next book is phenomenal. All right. If you're into the Watchmen, and there was hard, it's going to get us through quite a few things that I have here. Right. But the Watchmen, what a lot of people don't know is that there were extra things that came out in the 80s, right? There was I think a DC preview issue we'll be looking at, where it's basically the trailer for the comics. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of new comics coming out in 85. And there was a preview issue, and there's a page of Dave Gibbons' art with the Watchmen saying that they're coming. A lot of people consider that the first appearance of the Watchmen. There's also a role-playing game through Mayfair Games, I believe, right? There was a source book and 2 modules, and I don't know if there was anything else going on. Okay. So the thing about the game, the role-playing game, is that it has a source book. And the source book for the game had Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore working on it. They fleshed out things that are canon in the Watchmen book proper. So even if you don't like the Before Watchmen and the Rorschach miniseries and all these things, the Doomsday Clock and everything like that, the source book reveals certain things and gives background information and stuff that is in there with some new art. Now, if you've read the Watchmen, you know part of what they want when they the scene where the comedian is about to get jumped and killed. You see the foot on the door kicking it open, and comedian is in his robe in his apartment, and he's at a table writing a letter, and he jumps up. Well, the source book shows you the letter and who he was writing it to, and it's fantastic. Just found something else. So anyway, in the 80s, this came out. I don't even know what, 1990, excuse me. 1990, they did a Watchmen proper. Okay. They came out with 2 modules for you RPG players out there that you can use the source book on. And I think Alan Moore did have a little to say in some of this, which amazes me. My book, maybe, I'm going to have to look and see if it's the second print, because I'm pretty sure Alan Moore had fell out over Watchmen with DC by this time. So maybe they're working on it for a while. So I have the two modules, right? There's also an issue of The Question I'll show you by Denny O'Neil and Dennis Cohen that tied into the Watchmen, and a few other things, right? Well, they took all of this and they put it in the Watchmen Companion that came out just a few years ago, right? This is phenomenal. As you see, they used the new art by Dave Gibbons that he did for this game to make the cover of it. It is hardback with a dust sleeve, and it has everything from the module, everything from the source book. It has some extra stuff here. Let me get to it. Amazing Heroes. I'm going to show you those. There was some comic book magazines that reported the news, that did interviews with Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and they did new art for the covers of those magazines. I'll show you those. I think it has some of the articles also in here with some original art. This is just stuff that's kind of hard to find. It has the Who's Who's update from 1987, where they went ahead and, as you can see, did a page on Watchmen and a page on Minutemen, which I want to show you here in a minute. Here's the one by Todd McFarlane, which is wild because this means you have the Minutemen done by Todd McFarlane on this wraparound cover. And it gives you their Who's Who page on both of them. And the history. Here's the Beyond the Summer, more interview material. And then this also publishes June of 1988 in the question number 17. They did a story that Rorschach does appear in a dream sequence with the question, and we'll get to that when I get there. So this collects all that rare material from the 80s when Watchmen came out, over 30 some years ago, right? That's you can't really find, right? Going back to the movie, watching The Watchmen, and this is the memories of Dave Gibbons working on the book. Okay, so this is some of the art that he did, that he brought up while working on the Watchmen, trying to flesh things out, character designs, page designs, art you just can't find anywhere else. What he would do is to get Rorschach's mask to be symmetrical as it moved around, he would actually take ink blots and put them on paper, fold them over, and he actually kept them. And that's how he got the designs for Rorschach's face. He did it on paper first, and then he reproduced it in the panels of the comic. So you get all kinds of pencil sketches, thoughts, just everything. You know, how he worked out the pages. So if you're into the, how do they do that? If you're into the structure of a comic and things like that, this is the book to get, because this is also great learning. This is great reference material on how to learn and how to think about all that stuff. It's fantastic. Very happy to have that. Let's get rid of those bots. I actually was going to say this, Paolo. You need to have that French edition with the exclusive Dave Gibbons covers to be a completist. I would love to have that. There was also some prints. Our buddy Scott Connor, he ran across some prints of the Watchmen from the 80s. He ran across them and got them for a steal. An Italian exclusive as well. That's fantastic. Clay Enos has done multiple books on multiple movies and is a great person to follow on social media. Yeah, I'm gonna look him up. I never really thought about following him on social media, but I'm actually a fan of his work. That's how it should have already happened. Spencer Welch, you can pick up most of the movie-related hardback cover books fairly inexpensive online. Yeah, some of this. I'm sure I got some of this like in bookstores that had put them in the clearance aisle. I'm bound to have got something off of eBay. But that source book that has all the role-playing material and all the comic book stuff from the 80s that you really can't find and everything like that, I actually pre-ordered that one and got that for 35% off when it came out. Okay. All right. We can go down this stack. We're just going to be all over the place now. All right. So this right here, this is a first print, red out of hell, yellowed. But this is a first print of making sure I'm telling you right, because I'll tell you exactly how I got this. But yeah, this is a first print of the Watchmen trade paperback. I think this came out in '88. I had already heard of the Watchmen, and it had a mystique about it, right? Because you could not get it on newsstand, and I was in a small little town with just spinner racks and drugstores and magic marts and stuff, right? And we had the project in one of my art class in high school of you had to find a panel or something. I don't know. It didn't have to be in a comic book, but anyway, one of the older guys sat there and he did a picture of Rorschach, and I was just struck. I'm like, okay, now that pissed me off because this guy was a jerk. Even though I ended up hanging out with him for years, but he was a little bit of a jerk and stuff, and I'm the comic book guy. So I'm just sitting here like, if that asshole knows about Watchmen, then that's just not right. So I ended up doing a little hustling there. A friend of a friend knew an older guy who was looking for 3 or 4 comics that I had. No idea what they were. And he was he would trade them for this Watchmen book. And you would have thought, I've told the story many times, but I have a lot of new viewers. So this very book here, I am 15 years old, and I run home off the bus. The deal is set. The guy was going to meet me probably about a mile from my house in the parking lot of a Deskin's grocery store. So I get home, I dig through what I have there, and I find the books, and it's about time for get there. And when I get out there, it is twilight. And it's twilight. There's a weird reddish orange sunset going on, and it's getting dark quick. And then all of a sudden, the red truck that the guy drove is underneath a street light, and there's a weird cone of light coming down on it as it's getting darker. I'm wearing blue jeans, some black band t-shirt, and a flannel shirt, and I've got my comic books underneath the flannel shirt. And when I walk up to the guy, he's like, "You him? Yeah, you him. You got it. You got it." I give him the books. He gives me the trade. I put it back on there, and I go straight home and I start reading at 15. And it was just a magical time. But it always cracks me up how you would have thought a drug deal was going down if you'd been watching from a distance. So this is the very book. This is where I finally got to read The Watchmen. Right. many printings since then. And I'll be honest with you, I would love to be able to go back and read this for the first time, like I said, and feel that magic. I never read anything like it. Part of what I tell people, if they don't get Miracle Man and they don't get The Watchmen, go get you about 12 books scattered from 1981 to about 1984, comic books. Read those, then pick this up, and you'll be able to see what it does. No exaggeration, I probably read this 20 times the first year I had it, front to back, studying it, trying to figure things out. I'm still finding new things in this. I've just figured out something about Ozymandias after all these years, and I lost it, but hopefully it'll come back to me. But anyway, but 100 times being conservative of reading this. This is, no matter the absolute edition, I'll probably read it 4 or 5 times, but I have the comics. But this is what I go back to. This is it for me. If there's a fire, this is one of the books I'm going to grab and save. Just a great time. Okay, and I'm just showing this because this was on sale. They collected the Beyond Watchmen miniseries that came out around 2010, I believe. This is the Ozymandias, and then there was a backup feature in all of the Beyond Watchmen. Is that what it was called? Before Watchmen. I can't believe I've been saying Beyond. That freaking Doomsday Beyond got me. But anyway, before Watchmen, excuse me. So before Watchmen, they had a bunch of miniseries, and in the back of them, they had a anthology going on, the Red Corsair. I think that's what it was called, right? And you got several pages in the back of most of the books, or maybe it was just Ozymandias. I can't remember. But anyway, I bought this when it was on sale, so I could just sit down and read the whole thing without having to pull out all those books and just read a few of them and stuff, right? It had some interesting moments, but the Red Corsair is basically a pirate comic book. So in the world of the Watchmen, if you go back and read it, in the first issue, when you're reading Under the Hood, an excerpt from Under the Hood by Hollis Manson, they're talking about when Superman debuted in 1938, Action Comics #1, of course. But in a world where people were dressing up like heroes, for whatever reason, superheroes didn't take off in comic books. It was pirates and pirate stories. Okay, so there you go. You're reading a comic book in the Watchmen world. Now, as far as Lin Wein doing an Ozymandias story with Jay Lee art, it was sort of solid. Maybe a little bit safe, but it was solid. We'll leave it at that. So we'll put that over here. I'm going to go ahead and show this. This is promotional material that I grabbed. It had to do with before Watchmen, but you unfold it, and this was a promotional poster for all the miniseries. And you got to see the new Frontiersman, which is a leftist paper in the world of the Watchmen that Rorschach was a fan of. That was just an act of genius, and I grabbed 2 of those when they came out. I'll have some other stuff here, but when Doomsday Clock came out, they had a promotion. I ended up getting the Doomsday badge leading up to Superman and Dr. Manhattan, I guess, meeting up is what they were going for. All kinds of bots. And they also, I must have got, I'm not sure how I got this, man, but with the first issue, I ended up getting this promotional, I don't know, pinup, I guess, of a fantastic Gary Frank art, I guess. So we just keep that around because I am a completist. And now for you guys, you also know that Tom King did a Rorschach maxi series, 12 issues. I'll be commenting on that. For you guys that do not know, comic book shops are not supposed to sell the promotional material sent to them. So I ended up getting these free. My comic book shop guy in Bristol at Mountain Empire Comics, he just kind of keeps them by the door on a shelf, and here at any time you can go through all this stuff that he didn't put on his windows and hang up for free. So I have Rorschach posters. I'm grabbing 2 of those somehow. I'm sure I did it on purpose. All right, so we have Rorschach material. And then with the book that I just showed, if you're keeping up and keeping score, here are the 2 Who's Who issues with the Minutemen and the Watchmen with the Todd McFarlane cover and the Pablo Marcus cover. So we keep those. I'm trying to decide to put that in the short box with all the Watchmen material or in my Who's Who and Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe box. We'll figure it out. All right. Now, this stuff right here is where I get eclectic, all right? And I'm just going to go ahead and show you, but Marvel's number 4. Okay, so it's that fancy little cover that I can open and stuff. But Marvel's number 4, what was this, 1994 maybe? I think is when this came out. But anyway, what's the purpose? Why are you showing those in a Watchmen video? Because Alex Ross is an Alan Moore fan and a Watchmen fan and a Miracle Man fan and all that stuff, right? And in the retelling, Kurt Busiek was writing a retelling of tying all the 60s books together, if you will, with a narrative from a point of view. Gwen Stacy is walking through New York when Submariner is attacking the surface world with Atlantis. And she was talking, as she's walking through there, you see all these Atlantean ships around her coming through New York, and she's just walking through it. And Gwen Stacy was the symbol of innocence, basically, for comics, I guess, the innocence that our heroes should strive to protect, and you can go on. And she was talking about how all the underwater ships that were attacking had to keep water flowing through them in order to work, so they had spray and mist everywhere, and she was standing in the rainbows of them. Well, one of the Atlantean ships that's flying through there, Alex Ross painted the Silk Spectre in Night Owl in one of the Atlantean ships in the same panel with Gwen Stacy there. So we keep that. Tim, why are you showing Kingdom Come in here? Because I just established that Alex Ross. What are these? Yeah, I have 2 sets of these plus a trade or 2. But anyway, why are you showing Kingdom Come? Well, basically in Kingdom Come, which came out in 96, I do believe, there's a bar that they show, and all the heroes are in there, they're hanging out and everything like that. But if you look in the background, it's definitely Rorschach. But I think Rorschach and the Question are standing beside each other. I don't know about the Question. And what is that doll's name? There's a hippie doll that came to life, and it was life size. Why can I not think of his name? Brother Power. So the joke is that Rorschach in Watchmen walk into bars, and to get information, he would grab somebody, ask everybody in the bar if anybody knows anything, and he would start breaking the guy's fingers one at a time. Well, in this bar, Rorschach has grabbed Brother Power, who's basically a giant living doll, and he's breaking his fingers and screaming, and the joke being he's a doll, he doesn't have bones. So there's a Rorschach appearance in there for you guys that don't know. And I said this is my entire collection of Watchmen stuff, but who knows? There might be somewhere in this house, and I hope I still have it, is a Mad magazine with a Watchmen parody in it, and superheroes in general. Jim Lee art in it, Dave Gibbons art. I can't find that. But what I do have is this reprint of Mad About Superheroes. And inside of it is Mad Magazine did their parody of the Watchmen in the movie. So, yeah, I have the Mad Magazine here of the Watchmen. I have another one here somewhere. I'm positive they have, right? Now, if anybody is watching this and you want to help me out with this, or you just want to leave a comment, or you know something, that's fine, right? But at the last count, I had up to, if not over, give or take, we'll say 10 books of Wizard magazine from the 90s, right? And I know scattered throughout those decade and a half of its glorious years, at least, that Wizard probably did quite a few things with the Watchmen, right? But when they went from square bound to magazine size, the movie was about to come out. They're reporting on the movie, 2009 review, if you will. So I went ahead and got the Wizard magazines with the Watchmen on the cover. And I know if I went through my Wizard magazines, I would find articles and interviews and things like that talking about the Watchmen, I'm sure, right? Now, if there's anything here that I'm going to tell you not to get, even if you're a completist and you want all your Watchmen stuff, that's cool. You can do that. Oh, here we go. Spencer Welch. I have store promotional posters going back to the early 90s. I have quite a few also that I've been picking up. I'm trying to get more from the 80s. Anyway, I'm not going to get sidetracked here, right? But God, softwood. God, I'm trying to remember when this came out. It came out relatively just a few years ago. Maybe pre-pandemic, I don't know, right? But softwood was heavy metal's answer to trying, heavy metal magazine decided they want to do a humor book, and they called it Softwood because that's the opposite of heavy metal. And I pre-ordered it because they're like, we have a fantastic. They're like, we have a Watchmen parody in this, right? So I was all excited. I was like, oh man, I got to see their take on it. I'm expecting National Lampoon or Mad Magazine type stuff, right? And no, what we get is Rich Johnston. As soon as I saw that he was the author of this awful parody that he's going on and on about in this, I mean, this was just horrible, right? But as soon as I saw it was Rich Johnston of Bleeding Cool News, I was just like, oh no, oh no. And the worst thing is it has that Ralphie effect. Ralphie from the Christmas Story. If you guys have ever watched that. It's a part where he's writing his essay for his teacher. And he's sitting there, he's just writing it, and he's got run-on sentences, and he's rereading everything he wrote for his essay for school. And he's like, man, that's great. And all that stuff. That's the feeling I get with how Rich Johnston writes. He thinks he's being clever, and he's got all this enthusiasm, being his biggest fan. And it's embarrassing. That's how bad it is, right? So, yeah, I was so disappointed when I read that. Leading up to that, more promotional material. But I had to get this because, this has Joe Kubert's art on it and stuff, right? Oh, maybe I won't. Oh, no. Well, that is horrible. Apparently something sticky got on these through the years. These are worthless now. You're seeing it here. I'm not going to open them anymore, but I have promotional material from before Watchmen. And apparently something has gotten on them over the years, and I just pulled them up. That actually looks kind of cool. Yeah, the way there's age on them. What is that all about? I don't know what that is. Anyway, but one of the redeeming qualities of these before Watchmen books is that this is an Adam Kubert cover. This is the cover for Night Owl #1, and it is inked by Joe Kubert. So, Joe Kubert has touched the Watchmen, if you will. Yeah, we have the Silk Spectre one. Like I said, I can't open these till I figure out what's going on with them. And the great big huge poster that I showed you before, the before Watchmen, naming all the creative teams that are on there. This folds out quite a bit more. This one's in good shape, thank goodness. I don't know what's going on with these. The Minutemen, of course. Yeah, the Minutemen one. This is in fine shape. I could unfold that one. Darwin Cook came on there. And the Rorschach one has survived. So just that Ozymandias and Silk Spectre one are destroyed. You saw it here. I think it kind of adds something to them. That's all right. And also more promotional material. All of these before Watchmen books came out with variant covers for most of them. And this is some promotional material that if I folded it out all the way, it's huge. It has all the Jim Lee covers. And those actually became worth a little bit of scratch at some point. I don't know if they still do or not. All right, so there's all that. Oh man, we're moving right along. This is fantastic. We are now to the short box of comics, okay, of actual stuff, right? So let me check comments one more time, and we're going to fly through this. Palo has read Softwood, apparently. I thought it was horrible. He's watching the Howler Mouse Man. That's hilarious. I have some ideas of who it could be, or it's just my paranoia. Yes, Brother Power the Geek, created by Joe Simon in 1968. Yeah, every now and then that happens. I'll be doing a live show, and then I'll just blank out. And then as soon as I'm off the air, everything comes rushing back to me. Happens every now and then, right? So I'm going to have some comments on a few things, but these aren't reviews, if you will. This is not a review video, but I'll have some comments on them. But things that I absolutely love because you can't rush through. One of the reasons I stopped doing more reviews and talking about stuff on YouTube is that the videos were I come from an era on YouTube where a lot of the early comic book people on here, we would not so much cite somebody, but somebody would talk about a comic. We'll say like Commandy, that was a staple. And then somebody would jump on there and they would do their own video on Commandy, but they'd be like, hey, I watched Tyler Mouse video, check that out. He did this. I would be like, hey man, I just watched Costin Bromstar, go check out his video. I'm bouncing off that. There's a camaraderie there where we inspired each other. You know what I mean? Like we kept the conversation going, even though we weren't having it with each other, right? So over the years, there's this one guy, I want to say it was the Great Legend. I don't know. I don't want to scratch that because I do not remember who told me and pointed me that way. But anyway, but there was a guy who was a reporter down in Florida, worked for a newspaper. I don't know if he's a reporter, but he worked for a newspaper, and he was taking my videos and a few other ones, and he was doing his articles that way. He was doing zero research. He was actually taking a lot, 2 or 3 of us word for word from our videos and making a living at it. And there's a few other things that went on. So I kind of just stopped what I was doing. I stopped beating the guy, and I contacted the other 2 people, showed them some articles. We quit. So now the whole purpose of what I'm saying there is that this is why I like these comic book news magazines, if you will, especially from the 80s and the 90s and stuff, right? Fanzines from the 70s, 60s, 80s, and things like that, because these articles have not been translated, or not translated. Nobody has put them up online. You have to actually get these books and read in here, and you get stories behind the stories. You get the inspirations, you get thoughts and what they were trying to do with the story. So here's Amazing Heroes with new Gibbons art, if you will. Like I said, it's in that companion, Watchmen companion. Just fantastic stuff in here, what was going on. Comics Interview number 48, one of the best, if anything. Watchmen movie, and this is like from the 80s. They tried to make a Watchmen movie forever, and actually guys like Terry Gilliam were attached to it, and Terry Gilliam flat out said this could never properly be made into a movie. Another Comics Interview. So I absolutely love the interviews and the information that's in those. It's been a while since I talked to them. All right, guys. We are in the short box. Okay. So Tom King came out with a Rorschach book, right? 12 issues. People were kind of wondering what was going on. I'm that guy that has never got the big deal about Tom King. Nothing personal, as always, is what I'm saying. But apparently whatever he did on this Vision book that he did at Marvel, apparently it has carried him through the whole thing. That is the big defense for him, right? And then there were people who were saying he's the next Alan Moore, and I just chuckled at that. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, right? So I have a few things by him. Mr. Miracle, 12-issue maxi series that he did, and now this Rorschach. I've read one. I need number 2 and 10. I found these in dollar bins, all right, if you went back and watched my RobCom video. So I've gone back, and he did 12 issues of this. I have 10 of the 12, and I read 1 through like 6 so far, and it was just last night, to be honest with you. 1 through 6, and first I was a little bit intrigued about what's he trying to do here. He's actually doing something cool. I'm not going to go through all these, but yeah, I have 10 of the 12 Rorschach books. I'll be getting the rest later, I'm sure. So I got on there, and I'm like, what is he doing? What's he doing in this, right? Because it felt so familiar. And I feel like he's pulling from the HBO TV show, which is an atrocity. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you 3 great episodes out of the whole thing, in my opinion. That thing should be forgotten about. And he's doing this thing where you thought the book was taking place in the 70s because people had their shag hair and their sideburns and their little ties, and they're on the road and in diners and out in Texas and all this stuff, right? And he was very smart, I guess, of his idea not to actually try to bring back the character of Rorschach, if you will, right? There's a whole thing going on in the book. But I kept going, why is this feeling so familiar? And here's what he did. I figured it out today, which is why I'm glad to do this video tonight instead of last night, right? But Alan Moore, if you remember in the Watchmen, they had Richard Nixon being president forever. And then all of a sudden at the end of it, they're announcing RR is running for president. Everybody thought it was Ronald Reagan because this was 1985 in the book, right? It was Robert Redford. Alan Moore did not want to politically split people up reading the book because he knew there was people that had a huge problem with Ronald Reagan being president at the time. So he made it Robert Redford. It's still an actor with the same initials, right? Well, what Tom King has done is he is, in my mind, he went back and he watched a bunch of these conspiracy political movies of Robert Redford from the 70s. 3 Days of the Condor, which is my favorite of his movies, and that and Jeremiah Johnson, All the President's Men and The Candidate, right? I feel like he pulled from those movies and he's trying to write his own thing. Unfortunately, the only reason I got through 5 issues of it is that is unintentional ASMR. Knocked my ass out. And I slept pretty nice till about 3 in the morning, man. I was like, thank you, Tom King. All right, moving on. Okay. Before Watchmen, all of the Night Owl issues. Adam Kubert, Joe Kubert did inks on the cover. J. Michael Straczynski. You want my review? It's crap. I'm just going to say, right? Silk Spectre. Make sure we don't have a bad spill here. I had the lowest expectations for this because this is Darwin Cook working with Amanda Conner. And Amanda Conner had some say in the story and fashion designs of the late 60s. I think, wait a minute. Yeah, I think the late 60s and stuff right here, which takes place. She's 16 years old, takes off to San Francisco. She's fighting crime and getting laid and all this stuff right before Watchmen and stuff, right? Amanda Conner has signed all of these for me. And I got to talk to her at Heroes Con about the book, and that's where I found out everything that she put into the book. I also was able to tell her exactly what I'm going to tell you now, and I had to make her listen to me to finish my sentence because I knew it was going to piss her off. But I said, of all these people that were working on these before Watchmen books that were announced, most people had the lowest expectations for Silk Spectre, and it ended up being the best of the crop, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion that I've talked over the years when this first came out and a little bit afterwards, right? Because people were not really happy about these coming out. When I got through reading this, I was like, I want a Silk Spectre series. It was that good, in my opinion. Just fantastic. All righty. The Comedian, right? Brian Azzarello got on here. Jones, J.G. Jones did it. Fantastic art. Real quick review. Brian Azzarello gives you the feeling he didn't read Watchmen, which I refuse to believe. He has the Comedian hanging out with the Kennedy brothers, and if you read Watchmen, it is heavily implied to where it's almost fact that the Comedian is the guy that shot the Kennedy from the grassy knoll. No, they're saying he didn't do it. And he had a cool conspiracy that the CIA was funding the Vietnam War by selling pot to the hippies who were the ones against the war and having all their activism and stuff, right? Some of these are very dark, right? So basically, this is crap with great art. That's sad. There you go. That's that. And then we got Ozymandias. I've already spoke about that. A lot of books here, guys. This is signed by Jay Lee. I met him, had him sign a few books. This one is this and Dr. Manhattan are the two where I'm like, why don't you check this out? Jay Lee was doing this fantastic art where it felt like the 30s with the aesthetics, and almost like this could have been Buster Crabbe here playing Ozymandias in here, right? But I grabbed these wherever I can, usually in dollar boxes. So I got several number ones, number twos, Comedian. But yeah, this one ties very well into the actual Watchmen series. Okay, telling the origin, I guess, his journey of Ozymandias through different points in his life. Right. Let's go ahead and get all these out. There we go. All right, Rorschach again, another one by Brian Azzarello with great art. Complete crap. I don't know, man. I was like, what is going on with Azzarello in these, right? moving on, right? But yeah, there's parts of the art I enjoyed, and that was about it. It takes place in the 70s. I don't know if he's trying to do a taxi driver thing. And then Darwin Cook turned down the offer to work on the Before Watchmen books, you know, the Minutemen proper, if you will. And then all of a sudden he had to call them back a couple days later because he had the idea. And I remember reading this and being like, okay, that's kind of cool. They had it feels more of a traditional superhero story with some blast of ugly reality in there. So Darwin Cook, always solid. Even his worst books are better than most people's best books, in my opinion, right? So Darwin Cook, get the Minutemen. Darwin is cool. Can't say enough. Now, Dr. Manhattan, I have these signed by Adam Hughes, who did the art. Now, J. Michael Straczynski did Night Owl, and he also did Dr. Manhattan. The Night Owl book is crap, but the Dr. Manhattan book is the kind of book where I want to hand it to you, and I want you to read it, and I want your feedback in. It's very smart. That's my impressions that I'm remembering. He made up for what he did on Night Owl with this book. And of course, this book leads into DC Rebirth, retro style, if you will. Is it number 4? Because at the end of the Dr. Manhattan book, they believe he created the DC universe. And then they sort of said it's not so much he created the DC universe, he ended up taking those 10 years away from their timeline or something. But this was a hot book for a while. I got 2 of them. The Before Watchmen were actually selling so much, they decided to, in the middle of this, hurry up and get 2 more books out. One was a one-shot with Steve Rude art, a dollar bill, which is exactly why I bought it, with Steve Rude, and a 2-issue Moloch series. So there you go. And then this is my pride and joy. Some of all the Before Watchmen books had variant covers. I never thought I would get this. I found this at a con somewhere, and I think I might have paid $5 for it at that. But it's Jim Steranko doing Rorschach. So that's my pride and joy. Very happy about finding that. I want to put these up, and we're going to get some more books out. So bear with me. Wish I had an assistant to sit here and like take comments. All right, let's take some comments here. Quite a few comments here. I enjoyed all the Before Watchmen books, but Doomsday Clock was an example of an ego run wild. I'll have some comments on Doomsday Clock when we get there. Actually, that's not true. I have the complete scan collection of Amazing Heroes and Comics interviews. Are they online? Like, so did somebody take excerpts and put them on Wikipedia and stuff like that? I'm kind of talking about having it. We'll talk later. I get what you're saying. Somebody has scanned the entire magazine and they have put them up on a site somewhere. That's awesome. Okay. Doomsday Clock could have been done half the issues. To me, the best thing out of the series were Marinette and Mime, which returned in. Apparently, they have returned in issue 1 of, whatever that book was I talked about at the beginning of the show, Flashpoint Beyond or something. And I'm pretty sure I can find the original art egos from the 60s if I look for them. That's awesome. Tom King's Batman run was garbage. Yeah, I tried a few of them. I completely agree. Before Watchmen was mostly painful. Yes, Sleepy Reader. Like I said, I think there was 2.5 books of the series that were redeemable. Silk Spectre to me was fantastic. I'm very surprised. Maybe it's time to go do a reread to make sure I hold that opinion. Love the Sandman Mystery hardcover behind your left shoulder. Oh, yeah. I'm Spencer, I'm doing a thing where I'm getting all these Sandman Mystery Theater books. I think I'm like 3/4 way through the series and stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, great. All right, let's finish this up because we got some more stuff. A lot of stuff here. All righty. So I've stuck this in with my Watchmen collection, but Mike Mignola came on to Justice League Quarterly, and they did a story where they brought in their Charlton heroes for a story. I have not read this since it came out, and I actually had to replace it. So this is going back to 1994. Mike Mignola, Hellboy. It came in there, and as you know, Watchmen was originally going to be the Charlton heroes in the story. DC said, "Why don't you make your own creations?" So the Charlton heroes, the science heroes, help me out. I think that's what they were referred to. The science heroes at Charlton ended up being the archetypes, if you will, for the Watchmen. Dr. Manhattan was Captain Atom. Thunderbolt, Peter Cannon Thunderbolt was Ozymandias. Night Owl was Blue Beetle. Silk Spectre was Night. Going blank on her, but there you go. You get it. Peacemaker was the comedian. Okay. And then not going to say too much, but of course with DC Rebirth, they were leading up to a lot of things coming up. They were trying to get comics back on track. DC Comics back on track since the DC 52 let so many people down. They were like, "Hey man, we've got like we got a 3 to 4 year old plan for our DC books. And it all starts here at DC Rebirth. Just hang in with us and everything's going to come together." And the closer they got to the end of those few years, they were definitely going for having the Watchmen appear in the DC universe. There's the beginning of the DC Rebirth. I also have a hardcover. I got it Ollie's back here somewhere. And it fell flat. Doomsday Clock and a few things that were going to happen in the DC universe were all supposed to happen in the same month. You could have bought all these books in the store, and it just went all to shit, so there you go. That was horrible, right? If you watch Justice League cartoon in the Bruce Timm Paul Dini universe, if you will, they introduced the Question, and they made him a conspiracy nut and acted sort of Rorschach like in a few places here. So when they had an issue just for the Question, I of course put it in with my book. And right here is number 5 of the Question. I keep all my Question books sorted together and stuff, right? So I'll put some to the side. But for years, whenever I ran across the Question number 17, I pick it up, right? And as I'm organizing my books and putting them all together, I want to find more, right? Now, the significance of number 17 and why this is not a hot book to begin with, but technically, this could properly be the first appearance of a Watchmen character in the DC universe, because Vic Sage gets on a plane, and I think his plane is delayed. Denny O'Neil did a brilliant story, by the way. Let's just put it this way, but I'm going to point out something very hypocritical, right? So anyway, the Question is, he's got a plane ride. He's taking a plane trip, and at the gift shop or something of the airport, he picks up a trade paperback, the very one I showed you, I do believe, of the Watchmen, and he's just like looking, and he's fascinated and disgusted at the same time by Rorschach. So he falls asleep on the plane, and he has a dream where he meets Rorschach, and by gosh, he's thinking, I'm not doing enough with what I'm doing, with my, I don't know. He wasn't quite a superhero, but he's like, I'm not doing enough. I'm going to change my ways. I'm going to be more like Rorschach. So he starts trying to act like Rorschach, and ends up almost getting killed in the snow. And what's killed me about this is that a lot of people don't get what Denny O'Neil did here by ending the story in the snow and almost having the Question killed because he's acting like Rorschach. Watchmen number 12, Rorschach died in the snow of the Antarctic. He was mirroring, what was going on in the Watchmen book with this, right? Now, when I read this when it came out, since I've read it since then, I probably need to look up and see if Denny O'Neil ever did an interview for what he was doing in this book. But I kind of got the feeling that he was disgusted with what they did with, I don't think he was a fan of Watchmen is how it comes out, right? And I got to tell you, Watchmen, like I said, Watchmen came out. When Watchmen was acquired by DC, they popped up in Crisis on Infinite Earths and stuff, right? After Crisis came out, Blue Beetle had his own series with, Lynn Wein and Paris Cullins. And then all of a sudden the Question popped up proper, the Question from Charlton Comics and stuff. And then all of a sudden Denny O'Neil got a hold of him, and we get this grim and gritty version. All of this is the tone of comics changing because of Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, Mike Grell Longbow Hunters, Tim Truman on Hawk World, and then Denny O'Neil and Dennis Cohen on the Question. So I thought it was kind of hypocritical that Denny O'Neil had a hand in making a more grim and grittier Question while making a comment in this about Rorschach that played a part in what he did. So yeah, you know, see, I need to have conversations like this again with people in YouTube. We need to read our books and have these conversations. Best thing about Before Watchmen was the art of Darwin Cook, Adam Hughes, Amanda Connor, Jay Lee. Story-wise, not much there. Very slow, flocious. That's what I'm saying. It had redeeming qualities. They were going for some people who were superstars at the moment and stuff, right? That could do it. They brought in a lot of great talent, like you said. But it kind of pains. The bloom came off the rose. I have a video where I'm announcing the news at 6 a.m, like when this was announced on YouTube. I've done this forever, it feels like. So way back on a Howler Mouse video, it's 6 a.m. before I go to work, and I'm just disgusted with the news. I'm reading the article while I'm recording. The Best Watchmen, not by Morton Gibson, was HBO's sequel show. I'm glad you liked it, but it only had about 2-3 episodes I could enjoy, which is why I didn't review the show. I watched it. I sat through it. When they brought in Silk Spectre, Laurie, as the FBI agent stuff, that's a great episode, especially when she walks in and starts listening to Devo. But the rest of it, oh my goodness. Well, they kept the squid, though. That's a redeeming quality. I got to see the squid. So, way to go, HBO, on that one. They kept the squid. I just read that issue, The Question and Omnibus. Awesome. Hey, all right, Tat's out there. What's up, brother? Usually Tat is at work and hangs in as fast as he can. Okay, guys, so now we're about to get to the good stuff that you've been waiting on. And I feel this is why I love you. Okay, guys, I love you guys. I'm getting these out, and it makes me very nervous. All righty. All right. Okay. Well, anyway, I always get tribute covers. Here's Spawn 225, the tribute to Watchmen #1. There should be some more in here. There's one called Watch Cats I found out about that I need to get. That's also, yeah, I don't know what this is. Special Lawsuit Edition, What Me Worry, IDW, Watchmen, tribute cover, if you will, to Watchmen #1. Seems like, yeah, and then Skull Kickers, whatever this was from Image #24. That's a tribute to issue 9, I do believe. And DC Spotlight. Now, a lot of work went into me trying to find this one, right? I kept an eye on eBay. I would keep an eye out at cons. I never spoke of it because I did not want the competition. I'm a completist. I wanted it. I'm not going to go into if I think this is the actual first appearance of the Watchmen. I don't care. But there was a highlight. I met Jose Garcia Lopez twice now at Heroes Con, and I have a few things signed by him, so I was able to compare it. But I found this would go for unbelievable amounts of money on eBay that people were asking. Then I found one that was, I'm like, oh my God, that's reasonable. Not only was it reasonable, but it is signed by Garcia Lopez, who did it. But this has the preview of the Watchmen before they came out. Let's be very gingerly with that, right? Dollar Comics, if I find any kind of reprints and stuff of the Watchmen. I have another one to put in here now that I'm thinking about it after Watchmen, what to read after Watchmen, I think, or whatever. But every now and then they'll put out the #1 without it just has the comic book pages. It did not put the under the hood extra stuff in the back of Watchmen in this. Okay, this is just a wet your whistle to get it right. So here we go. Watchmen #1. Watchmen #1. Okay, I'm putting these up in there. Yeah. Okay, Watchmen #2. Watchmen #2. And I do have these. I would get books from Wizard Magazine, and they came up with these fantastic, extra thick, extra protective, extra plastic, so if you drop them, it doesn't do anything to them. You see the Wizard logo. Backing board built in, so I would get these half issues and stuff ordered from them, and I would immediately take them out, or whatever, however I got these and stuff, and I would put my Watchmen books in them, right? Now, before I keep going on with all these Watchmen books and stuff, I've got all these for $1 a piece. And around the year 2000, with my first wife, we bought a house December of 1999. So that following summer, we were in Johnson City, and I stopped at a comic book shop, and they had a flyer up. And it said in 1 week, this guy outside of Kingsport, Tennessee, was having a garage sale. He guaranteed thousands of books, all for $1 a piece. I didn't know if I was going to go to this. I'm a family man. I just bought a house. I've slowed down on a few things and stuff, right? And then that Friday night before the sale, I actually had a dream, and I'm sharing this with you, right? I had a dream that I found Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen books and things, right? I'm like, I got to go. I wake up at 6 o'clock. I drive 2 hours to the place. And the guy legitimately is part of some very nice townhouse apartments. He's got his garage open. And I'm going through his stuff. Everything's $1. I'm getting Sandman books, Dark Knight Return books, Grant Morrison books, Watchmen books. I got 6 issues of the Watchmen scattered through there with #1. And then I was filling out other stuff that he had. I got Doom Patrol 51, Animal Man 51. I was getting some very sophisticated books for the time and stuff and all that stuff. So when the guy sat there and I went to pay him and he was going through my stuff, he just kind of looked at me, and the stuff that I picked out, he flat out told me it impressed him. Could tell that I was a little different, what his words. And he goes, I'll be right back. And I'm like, he's not going to sell me the books. So he goes in his house and he comes out with Sandman Mystery Theater, the leather-bound edition. Sandman Mystery Theater, excuse me. Seasons of the Mist, Sandman Seasons of the Mist with the key on it and stuff. Turns out this guy, I think he said he was from Massachusetts, and he had a comic book shop for like about almost 20 years. And he would always go through every book as it came into the store with the orders and stuff, and he'd pick out the mint copies, and this is what he was selling. Well, as part of a promotion for his store, he actually invited Kelly Jones to come stay with him, and he and his wife came over, and he took them out to like a local Walmart or store or something like that. And they got all excited because they had Blueberry cereal. Apparently in California, there was no Blueberry cereal. So they actually bought up all the Blueberry cereal, boxed it up, mailed it back to their house. So while they're sitting there at the guy's house, he let them stay with him and his wife, so they didn't have to pay a hotel room. He looked over on his bookshelf and saw his Seasons of the Mist, and he pulled it down, and he decided to sketch in it for him. And he opened it up and showed me, and Kelly Jones had done this meticulous, fantastic Sandman figure, in ink. I think it was marker, to tell you the truth and stuff. So we ended up talking quite a bit, man. I thought we were going to be friends. But anyway, if you go back, I have a video, my top 10 comics from years ago. I put this as #1. Forget about the other 11 issues of Watchmen, because if you want to see the craft and the storytelling and things only you can do in a comic book, Watchmen #2 is a piece of art on its own without all the other issues. This is how you do a comic book. Yep. Moving on here. What is this? We have comments. Just picked up about 43 books for 49 cents a piece. That is a deal, my friend. Just going down here. Hey, Spencer has that preview issue as well. Smotlock has the role-playing Watchmen book, the more contributed to, but not much else Watchmen related other than the comics. A worn-out trade and a hardcover that came in the box set with the movie. So I showed all that at the beginning. And I got to tell you, man, to me, Watchmen is one of those books they all should be like read and wore out and tore up and loved. To me, that's just well-loved. Other than the woke crap and Watchmen, I thought the TV series was much better sequel than Doomsday Clock. Gary Frank was the best thing about Doomsday Clock. I'll have some comments on Doomsday Clock here. I'm normally a big Jeff Johns fan, but didn't really need Watchmen characters in the DCU. Watchmen #2 is my favorite issue too. Awesome. Okay. All right, well, let's get through these. #3. #3. This is where the Watchmen actually took shape. Okay, this is where the book was getting the symbolism and the metaphors and the message. Classic issue #4. Oh, it feels so weird having these out. #5. #6. Very dark. 7, 8, 9. Now that nostalgia is a superhero. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. 11, see the smiley face? 10, I mean. Here's number 11. And number 12. As you can see, I don't have the doubles of, I think, what was that? 10 through 12, 9 through 12. Let's get those backs in a box. Just about done, folks. I'm slowing down, I know. And now we're at that point of all the comments that people have been making and talking about Doomsday Clock and stuff. But yes, I was there with Doomsday Clock. Pre-ordered these, 35 cents off. I found this for $1. Lenticular covers, all this good stuff here. Okay, so I gave this a chance. I went into it open-minded. I had a lot of faith, but you got to remember, around this time, Jeff Johns was doing this weird thing where it was like he wanted to be Alan Moore. I don't know what he was doing. He was pulling up the Killing Joke. He was referencing Doomsday, the Watchmen. It seems like he did a few other things. And it was like Jeff Johns, who has a catalog going back almost 20 years of great books that he has done. Justice Society, the JSA books, they're gold that he did. Popped over and did an all right run on the Avengers. Comes back, does this phenomenal Ultimate Green Lantern, Blackest Night, Infinite Crisis. I mean, he gave it his all. 52. I mean, he was just nailing it. And then all of a sudden, it was like he started. I don't know what he was doing with this trying to be Alan Moore. And this was painful because, like, some people on YouTube that I talked with, I'm not really going to mention their names because I don't want to drag them in on my comments and stuff, but it really hurt to see this just kind of fall flat and go nowhere, because Gary Frank was drawing his heart out. You could feel a lot of people, and Jeff Johns also, you could feel a lot of people really trying, really putting in a lot of work, really going over this with a fine-tooth comb. It even had a reference to Killing Joke, the amusement park, if you will. That's where they end up crashing when they make it to our Earth. But there's a few plot holes here and there to why this could never have happened. I'm not going to give them out. There's one big plot hole why this could never happen. But I'm, again, I'm not going to, get into it there. And I kept leading up to things, and they were bringing up Legion characters, mysterious characters, Marionette and Mime, who were based on Punch and Julie from Charlton Comics. But invisible guns, and, the Watchmen were science fiction. They were not superheroes. That's part of the reasons why this mix does not work. I'm not sure where they were going with it, and maybe because of some things that were going on behind the scenes of DC. Maybe that's why it fell flat. But none of this should have ever happened. But again, it's really hard to talk about the story falling flat when you can feel the passion in it and how much work they're putting into it. Gary Frank, this is some of his best work ever. So that's everything. That's the Doomsday Clock. That's Rorschach. That's movies, films, everything like that. I can put this stuff up. I can reorganize it again. And thanks for popping in there, guys. I'm going to check the comments, see if anybody's got any questions. I got off track once or twice because I don't script this stuff. Yeah. What we got here? Who's this? Who is this? Gretzky, what's up? I got the movie and some animated movie too. Great. Great Gary Frank art at least. Yeah, that was the consensus. John C. loves the covers. Smotlock also enjoyed the Mime and Marionette, not much else, right? So, like I said, there was some little Easter eggs in there with them. It was a lot of great efforts, but there you go. Oh, thanks, Gretzky. I appreciate it, man. So we got through that in an hour and 18 minutes. That's my Watchmen collection. Now, like I said, there's some wizards around here that I'm sure if I went through, I would find some articles on them. There's a Mad magazine floating around here somewhere. I'm still kind of getting organized and redoing this stuff. But it was good to get all this stuff out and talk about it. So thanks a lot, guys. And everybody be excellent to each other. Awesome. Later, guys.